freedom is calling on the other side of the wind. So we keep on walking, though it tears through our skin. Feeling like a warrior that's not afraid to bleed. The fight inside's in all of us, so we won't concede. You can't hold us down, no. You can't hold us down, down, down. You can't hold us down, no. You can't hold us down, 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 yeah. Down, 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 can't hold us down. Every day's a battlefield between the light and the dark. Angels and demons try to tear us apart. Heavy on our shoulders is the weight of the world, but it makes us stronger, though the pain it burns. You can't hold us down, we never give up. Walking through the fire and the flame can't hold us down. 'Cause when the going gets tough, we're tearing through the metal chains. Can't hold us down, 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 yeah. Down, 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 can't hold us down, 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 yeah. Down, 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 can't hold us down. You 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 can't hold us down. We never give up. Walking through the fire and the flame can't hold us down. 'Cause when the going gets tough, we're tearing through the metal chains. Can't hold us down, 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 yeah. Down, 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 can't hold us down, 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 yeah. Down, 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 can't hold us down. Can't hold us down.
Well, hello, 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 and welcome to Talking Normal. How are you guys doing tonight? I am super fabulous tonight, I'll tell you that. I have an amazing show planned for you, myself and Rosemary Dalton. And right now, I'm going to bring in Rosemary. Rosemary, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic because we have an amazing story coming up, and we do have some major news and a major announcement coming up here, because I'm going to definitely right now bring in Mr. Michael Cadena. Michael, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Awesome. So Michael now is free. Amazing. Yes. Amazing, brother. And I'm so glad that you're freed and out of the jail cell, because we've seen an atrocity take place with you. And we're going to ask you a few questions here in just a little bit here, but I'm going to go ahead and get into the storyline real quick so people can kind of identify with what's going on, and then I'll be right back with you, okay? But we're gonna start this off in this way. I'm gonna hit that mute there for you so we can get into this, because this is a literally crazy case. So let's.
Jay?
Yes.
Can I say something before you get started in this story?
Yes, go right ahead.
One, I want to thank everyone that helped little Miss Layla come home, because of the phone calls and everything else here in Missouri and the call to action that was answered. This little girl was court ordered home to her mother today. And I want to tell everyone, thank you, because Sergeant Joshua Howe, who was her foster father, abused her on camera, one of Good Samaritans, which I want to shout out to him and tell him, thank you for bringing it to all our attentions, because that video could have saved her life. And I really appreciate that we got it in the hands here in Missouri to bring that little girl home, because she was court ordered home today, which was a huge success. So thank you, everyone, for those phone calls and call to action and how important those calls are. So I just wanted to make sure that was a very important message to start off this.
Yep. And again, thank you to all those out there as well who put the pressure on. I know we put the story out there, and some of the people who are friends with me on my Facebook and several others got a hold of this story. It evidently went on Reddit and went viral. And the next thing you knew, thousands of people were calling in reference to Michael as well to free him. So thank you all out there for putting the pressure on when we put a call to action in place, because we greatly appreciate it. I'm sure Michael does as well. And this is the real story in its complexity, because when we get into this story, understand this story isn't going to be just one single story. There's a complexity that goes on out there within the family court system. And specifically, we're seeing it in McLean County, but we're seeing it several other places as well. We've seen it in Rosemary's case 20 years ago.
22 years ago.
22 years ago. It's still going on today. Some of the same exact things that Michael went through. Melissa McDonald out there in North Carolina.
Dennis Laguerre here in Missouri. Yep. And he has a federal Supreme Court case going on right now for the very reasons, very similar to this man's case.
Yes. And it's really complex, but let me state it in this way. It becomes rather simple after a while. So I'm just going to read off what we know that's in the case file right here. May 22nd, Michael files for custody. Okay. July 25th, 2014, mother was awarded temporary custody. March 25th, 2016, child was taken, put into foster care over drug charges. Okay, and we'll get into that a little bit. September the 26th, child returned to father for custody. Sorry, that was September 2016. Okay, February 17th, 2017, father asked Helen Ogar, who was his attorney at the time, to move to Massachusetts, and he was in fear for his life. There's several more instances in that. We'll get into that a little bit too. March 17th, Michael moved him and his son to Massachusetts. June the 21st, Amber Buck was found unfit to be a mother. November the 14th, 2017, Michael's ordered to return to Illinois with his son. November the 14th, 2017, Michael ordered to return to Illinois with son. Similar orders in February, April, and June. June the 1st, 2018, Michael was in indirect civil contempt. Then June 13th, 2018, Amber Buck awarded custody, arrest warrant issued for Michael. September the 27th, Michael was sentenced to 6 months in jail for direct criminal contempt. September the 28th, Michael files to remove to federal court. October the 2nd, 2018, federal court judge remands case back to Judge Hill and threatens Cadena's lawyer for improper filings in the federal court. So this is a long spiel, but basically what it entails is we had a mother found unfit, child endangerment. We've got several instances of different things, drug charges and all of these other things. But what's really interesting to me is how a mother can be found completely unfit. And then we still have the instances that we've had where we've got someone filing, or excuse me, the judge is filing direct criminal contempt on Michael, and he's in a completely different state. my understanding in direct civil or direct criminal contempt, you have to witness somebody actually doing that, or it has to be on the court grounds, or there has to be something crazy about that. So let's go back just a little bit when we're talking about why you left the state of Illinois, Michael. When you left the state of Illinois and you let Helen Ogard know, hey, I'm leaving the state because I feel threatened. Can you explain a little bit of how you felt threatened?
Well, I was sleeping with a bat next to my bed with my child. That was one thing. I had past experiences, had Amber's paramours continue to threaten me, come up physically, fight me. I'm 40 years old, 40 plus years old. That was not safe for my son to be in. The transition home from Michael, the family still continued to fight and basically damaged the transition home. When I got Michael home, there was a lot of push behind the scenes that an 8-page letter went out to Jason Chambers, and then it found my attorney, Helen Ogar. I read that letter and it scared me. It terrified me. That was the final draw. I said, I cannot stay in the state.
Right. And so Jason Chambers is the Attorney General of McLean County. For those who don't know, Jason Chambers.
He's the state's attorney.
State's attorney, sorry. Yeah.
Now he's a judge, though.
Oh, well, that's fantastic.
It is. It's fantastic. The thing with this is, Jay, is that's only the beginning. There's actually 4 other judges involved in this entire piece.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm putting it all together now, and they know who they are. They're listening. So get ready for the full piece coming out.
Right.
It's a lot worse than what anybody thought.
Yes. Now, how did you find out about the orders telling you to bring your son back to the state of Illinois? Because obviously you're in Massachusetts. You don't know exactly what's going on back in Illinois. You've already notified your attorney. And by the way, did your attorney at the time say, yes, it's okay for you to move?
She emailed me. I sent multiple emails saying, I'm moving on this date. You got to check with DCFS, please.
Right.
You need to check with them. They agreed with me moving.
Right.
And they basically said, get out of there.
Right.
Because if the past 6 months prior, I don't know if I can talk about, it's a sealed case.
Right.
Sealed for reason, tell you.
Yeah.
Because
and that's fine. And we don't want to get into the child's part of that because
no,
we've got to protect that anonymity that's going on there in that.
Hey, Jay.
Yes.
Why don't we bring Lisa in and let her do her questions?
Yeah, absolutely. And Lisa, are you there on the line still with me?
I am.
Awesome.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. Now Lisa.
Forgive me if it's loud. I'm in the car.
Okay. Now Lisa is an investigative journalist, and Lisa, can you kind of explain some of your credentials for our audience out there who's listening in, and they kind of want to know what your background is?
Sure. So I'm a member of the National Press, the NPPA. And so I've had about 15 years experience in media. I started out as a special features reporter. I did that for a couple of years. I worked for several publications. One in particular was the Metro West Daily News in Boston. And eventually ended up transitioning into entertainment. And I spent the last 10 years working in entertainment, where I would review shows or do a lot of on-camera work. And a lot of my work can be found in several different press kits for different artists. And in the early 2000s, I decided to kind of retire and move to San Diego. And I just kind of transitioned into normal life and settled down, got married and had a child. And how I started to get back into media. So Mike's family and mine go way back. We're from a small town, very similar to Bloomington and Normal, where it's a small community. At 3 to 6 degrees of separation is not uncommon. We grew up, our families on the same cul-de-sac. And so I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but my brother and he were best friends when we were like 5 to 7. Right. And yeah, and so, but we hadn't spoken in, over 30 years. And people knew what I did in the past. And so his family reached out and said, can you look into this case? Is there anything there? Could you get any media involved? And so, when you work in media, especially in entertainment, you're still heavily connected. And so I have a lot of connections, and I thought, okay, if there's something I can do, absolutely. As you probably already know, with custody cases, it's very difficult to get mainstream media to get involved because of the sensitivities of the issue. Unfortunately, a lot of the times when they do actually jump in, there's, like a tragedy or a scandal. And so difficult road. But when I started to dig into the facts of the case, it was astounding. And then I really started to dig a little bit more into the county and other experiences that happened in other people's cases. It was mind-blowing.
Right.
To say the least.
Right.
I couldn't believe what I found.
Right.
And so since then, I've just decided to get back into media and really start to investigate.
Looks like we're kind of losing you a little bit there. Yeah, we may have lost her, and I know she was on the road driving at the.
For a second.
There you go.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
But that's really what I'm doing is I'm just looking into, Mike's case and 5 other cases and really kind of trying to gain some background to the county and find out what's going on there and if there's anything I can do to help.
Right. Exactly. Okay. So Lisa has great credentials. She's gone through a lot of this stuff here, and I'm sorry about this. I'm getting interrupted here. It seems like whenever I go live, somebody wants to actually call me on Facebook.
I have a question.
No.
I have
Yeah,
a question
go ahead.
for Lisa. During your investigation of this case, what have you discovered that was faulty? The biggest fault.
So one thing that stood out to me, and so it's a very high number of cases where, say, there's wrongful convictions, or a lot of mistakes and negligence, clear-cut negligence. There's several cases. In a small community, it's extremely rare, for example, to have one wrongful conviction is overturned, and let alone several. To me, that was a red flag. If you have a lot of the same judges, people who were prosecutors and now are state's attorney in Mike's case or in another case that I was looking into, it's kind of a red flag. I think that, to have a county so small have that much negligence in several different cases, that's an issue that needs to be looked at. It's unheard of. Right. And so I thought that I'd dig a little deeper and see what I could find. And I think things like these really need to be reported. We need to stay true to the integrity of our judicial system. And it just seems like the more I dig, the more I find that they are not in McLean County.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
The other question I had is, we already figured out your establishment with the connection between you and Mike. But the thing of it is he guilty? What, from your investigation, is he guilty from your perspective?
I don't, to be honest. I think, I know a lot of the negative stuff that's out there is they're judging him for his past, and I don't think that's fair. I think a lot of us have done things in the past that we're not proud of. I think with Mike, he really did what he needed to do when it came down to it. He needed to take control and be the parent he needed to be for his son and to protect him. And I think he really did what he could, and given the circumstances at the time. There was a meth lab raid, and he had reached out to his, Amber's father and tried to get help there. He reached out several times to DCFS.
We're talking double digits. There was actually 2 meth labs, but the other one disappeared.
Okay.
Wow.
Then he asked for the assistance of his attorney. I'm not well versed in law. I'm assuming Michael isn't either. So when you ask your attorney, hey, this is what's going on, is it okay if I leave now that I have full custody? You would take that person's advice, especially if they know the law like they're supposed to. And I think that he's done everything right, and he's trying to help his child, and he's trying to get someone to listen. And unfortunately, people just aren't doing it. And unfortunately we've come to the situation we're in now, and it's just there's so many people involved, and there's so many different things you need to do, and we're kind of at a standstill now. And I think the things that happened the way they did last week were not the right way to do it. It wasn't the right process. Things weren't followed. I think it was a horrible disaster. And I think that right now what we need to think about is the child and what's best for the child, and how do we remedy what just happened.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly right.
You're exactly right. The other question I had is, as a part of the media, I heard something about the GoFundMe that's been established for him. And that's for the monies for an attorney and things like that. As a media, when you do your final draft and it goes published, would you promote his GoFundMe?
There's another thing, negative thing out there. There's a lot of miscommunication about that. So there is 2 separate fundraisers. I know initially there might have been some previously, but they've all been, their target dates were met. I know that there is now a Funded Justice website that is solely for his legal fees. And then there's one for, at the time, supporters wanted to alleviate stress on Mike, and they decided to raise money for Michael's his copays for Mikey, because he saw a specialist 2 to 3 times a day. Those costs add up. He has astronomical legal fees right now. I've never seen anything like it before. It's been equated to people who have to deal with legal expenses in murder cases. It's pretty unheard of for family cases. So I think that people need to understand that one was specifically for, is to help alleviate stress for him and, pay a year's upfront of cost for the copays, and the other is for his legal fees. I think the goal was to do $25,000 for his bond, which they ended up meeting. And then they did get several requests. I confirmed with them from many people, because this story went global. They said, we want to contribute to extra your legal fees now. Is there something we can do? And I know that they ended up raising the goal, and people have been still reaching out, and that is solely going directly to the Shapiro law firm and I believe Adele. So those are solely for that. I think if people want to, that's great. I think it'll help alleviate a lot of cost. They're not pressuring them to do it. I think a lot of the primary focus that they're trying to get out there is they want people to reach out to the legislators, reach out to the people who can make a difference. It's amazing if you can donate, absolutely. But I think really what they need to do is reach out to the Illinois Attorney General, reach out to the Illinois governor, reach out to the state's attorney's office, whether it's in Illinois or Massachusetts. Let's really try to see who can reach out and help out. Like, how do we resolve what happened and get Mikey where he really needs to be? And I think that's kind of their primary focus right now.
So what you're asking the public is a call to action.
Exactly.
Yes.
So you're asking everyone to contact these people. If you can't donate, you can at least contact these people and have their voice heard.
Absolutely. And I think that Mike can also agree to this, that's really their primary focus. While it's amazing that people want to donate and reach out and help, his primary focus is getting his son back. And his primary focus is a call to action, and really reach out to those legislators and reach out to those people who can make a difference and actually help him with that.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Well, I had to ask some questions, and I'm sorry I didn't ask Mike directly, but if I ask Mike, everybody's going to say that's Mike answering it. Anybody can cover that. I figure I asked the journalist who's covering the story to give enlightenment on this, give a better insight. So I'm sorry, Mike, if you felt offended.
No, it's okay.
Yes. And really the reason that we bring that to light is there out in Massachusetts in that East Coast area, as soon as I put out that we were going to be doing this story, as soon as I put it out, we had people from a certain website out there that kind of did a half-sided story of the issues, similar to the Panagraph. Yeah. Thanks, Bloomington. Love you. Yep. Anyway, but here's the deal is, whenever you put out a story, you need to research it, and you need to do both sides of the equation. You need to get all of the facts out here into the open. And I can tell you, we've looked directly at the entire case, at both sides' records. and I know that there is a drug charge on your side, and so I want to give you an opportunity to explain what happened on that, and
Sure.
what you've done in that process as well.
The drug charge is my medication. I actually brought it in the next day. Stephanie Wong was my criminal attorney. The drug charge was my medication. I had to show I had scripts for the medications.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So he has prescription medication that he was taking, was giving a drug charge for that prescription medication. Okay. So
that happens if you have the pills and you
Yes.
don't have the prescription handy. The cops will give you that ticket. You have to is present it in court. If you
Yeah.
present it in court and show the courts, hey, I have a prescription for it, they usually dismiss it without court costs.
Yeah.
That's usually how that goes.
Yes.
Yeah, and just to put it out there too, I know there's a lot of rumors out there circulating with like negative press or people who just jump to conclusions. There's a definite issue with the McLean County criminal search. One of the things that I noticed is, initially when you find it, it shows the actual charge, and then you get into the breakdown on the secondary page, and it really kind of shows a breakdown of what happened. Unfortunately, when people look at first glance, they see the actual criminal charge and they take it for face value, and they don't really go into the second tab to kind of see the breakdown of what happened. And if they did, they would have seen that charge was dismissed.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of negative press out there, like, oh, he had a controlled substance charge. But if you really kind of looked at it, you would have seen that was actually dismissed. He went in the next day and did what he needed to do. And so he really shouldn't be judged on that.
I don't do drugs. It's simple as that. It's really simple. I don't.
Right.
The kids
That's good to know. But the whole
Yeah.
point of this show is to pretty much ask the questions because there's a lot of negative going out there.
Right.
And it's kind of squash it because there is an article coming out from what I understand. It's going to be big.
Yes.
And it's going in mainstream media.
Mhm.
And so we don't really want to hit on those issues because we don't want to ruin the story.
Right.
Yeah.
What we want to hit is on those negative things that are going around, rumors, and kind of nail those down so the bad press can understand this is the real deal. This is what's going on. This comes from the horseman's mouth, and this come from the investigative reporter that's on it. So people actually thoroughly did their jobs, and they want to make assumptions. Then they would have did their research. Well, did they research? Then they would know these answers. The reason I'm asking all these questions is I honestly don't know much about your case, and I'm curious. And I'm kind of a little blind here. So Jay did give me the information. I just didn't get a chance to go through all of it.
Yeah.
So I'm asking questions of things I've heard about the case and the things that are negative out there. So if it's negative, I like to nail that down.
Of course, I understand.
Right. And
So-
the reason that we want to squash this kind, and that evidently is the official word, squash, today. So the reason that we want to come out with this is when we hear in this community, we say, okay, the parental equality or, parents' rights community, so to speak. If a mother loses custody, she must be nuts and she must have been sleeping around or blah, 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 blah. That's the assumption, right? If a dad loses custody, he must have been an abuser or a drunk or this, that, or the other. So there's large bases of misconception out there. And we want to squash that kind of stuff because the other rumor that we want to get right into,
Well, I never lost custody. I was never found unfit.
right. So you were never found unfit. That's another one we were going to get into.
Oh,
Is a fitness hearing. You were never found unfit, but
She was.
she was found unfit. And then suddenly, even after these drug charges were brought about, Lisa, what have you ever seen anyone have a meth lab and meth charges and marijuana charges and all of this and only get probation? That's what I want to ask you because you've done some of the research on this.
I have, yeah. And I mean, and I've reached out to the state's attorney's office about that too. I found that quite suspicious. I actually did a lot of research. I went as far back as 2014. I know that Diane Benjamin will also say she did as well. And we asked around, and every case, I mean, there was variation in the different levels of drug that was involved. But any meth case, I can't find any meth case in which someone just ended up with probation. And there were several cases. I think there's a specific case of Jacob Laws, for example, that's very, very similar, except he didn't have any previous felonies. And, you know, Amber was on her third felony in a year. I've never seen someone on their third felony in a year with, you know, Class X charges. And as we know, those are extremely serious. They're just one step below a murder charge, and to which the charges were linked to child endangerment. And I've never seen a plea so drastically downgraded and eliminate the child endangerment charges where they're not legally held accountable. I think if you were going to drastically downgrade to, say, Class 2 meth, unlawful use of a structure, I think given the circumstance that the children were living in, an active meth lab, there was 6 different ammunition found, hypodermic needles found in children's reach. I believe there was a cup of meth in one of the reports that said right next to children's toothbrushes. I think that the severity of that, I think that you should absolutely hold someone legally accountable for that. And I looked into it, just regular child endangerment charges. It would have amounted to just probation, but considering that she had probation several times, you could have just rolled it up into what you were going to give her. At least it would have held her legally accountable.
I have a question.
And I just think it was, sure.
The question I have is, where's the child now? And did they place the child back with the mother? And if they did,
Yes.
are they on drugs?
Yeah.
She's still on probation too. It's not
no.
like, you know, yeah.
So the child is with the mother right now?
They came to Massachusetts, ignored a motion to stay until the appellate court with her attorney, Tristan Bullington. And they went and basically used our law enforcement to kidnap Michael, have me arrested, put in jail, and then they kidnapped Michael and took him back to Illinois.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you right there. We do not mention the underage children's names. You come by
Oh,
their
sorry. Okay,
That is very important because it is a delicate situation.
right.
So if you want to talk about the child, we have to use their initials, first and last letter.
Right,
You know, first
right.
initial of their first name, last letter of their last name. I'm assuming MC. And that's what we'll call him, MC.
Yeah.
Yep.
We don't say his name. He is a
Okay.
child. We have to protect their identities.
Perfect.
So we know that the child was extradited to the state of Illinois, and we're assuming that the child is in the mother's custody.
After she's been
Yes,
found
that was
unfit.
confirmed. So there's a little bit of miscommunication there. So when Mike and Amber were going through, when Mike was given full legal and sole custody of Mikey and moved, over that time, you know, initially when that happened, Amber was found unfit, and over that time, she must have completed some kind of programs to eventually be found fit. Now, she was found fit to her first child first, and then Mikey, I think it was a period of 9 months total before she was actually found fit again.
Yeah, we got to
Now,
be
keep in
careful. of that
mind-
name, though, but
Keep in mind, she didn't have any child
Lisa, you
endangerment
can
charges
see-
because the state's attorney dropped it. So I don't know what they would have done had those charges stuck.
Right now, what I would say is this is eerily similar to what Rosemary has gone through in her case 20 some odd years ago.
I want to tell Lisa and all you guys, this has been going on for a long time. And it isn't just in my case. I mean, Illinois is the neighboring state of Missouri.
Mhm.
When I live in Missouri, this happened to me. I was charged in contempt. I got sentenced, suspended sentence. If I come anywhere near my son, I have to spend the rest of my life in jail for 30 years. My son had to find me. I couldn't find him. They terminated my parental rights. They extradited my son from Wisconsin. That I had permission to go to Wisconsin to get a change of venue. The courts ordered to see my son so they could do a change of venue and a guardianship. The courts here in Missouri knew about it. They gave permission for me to go. A month later, they kicked in the door with a warrant for my son's arrest for a murder warrant. He was 3 years old. And then they kicked in the door and they took my son and placed him in protective custody up there. Then they did a hearing, did a powwow. Then they extradited him. The judge gave him 24 hours to come up and get him, or they give him back to me. And then all of a sudden, they took him back to St. Louis, which was uncalled for. But this just didn't happen in this case. There is a case right now with federal it's a federal Supreme Court right here in Missouri that is very similar to Mike's case. Very
Wow.
similar. And it's in the Supreme Court hearing where we are waiting for the ruling, which needs media coverage because we're waiting on that ruling. And it's going to be any day now that we get it. And that's the Lagares case, Dennis Lagares. So, Lisa, if you really want to tie all this together, we have nationwide stories that are very similar to Mike's. And you could tie it together, not just as a county problem, but as a national problem.
It is a national epidemic for sure. Absolutely.
Right.
But if you want some big cases that can prove the point and it has the evidence, that has email communications, ex communications in the courts, I'm talking about details, all the evidence.
I have all the detail too.
Exactly.
Right back to Michael. It's unsold. Every legal document, all of it. I've already done it. I just haven't released it.
Yeah,
one case is great, but when you get many from all over the country, makes the story even bigger.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
And that's generally what we're seeing here is we're seeing illegal orders. We're seeing judges do shady stuff because they feel as if they have absolute immunity. Well, the problem is Rankin versus Howard is one of the bigger cases that says, no, you have to have jurisdiction in order to have that immunity. If you don't have jurisdiction, you don't have absolute immunity.
That's right.
That pillar. But these judges, each and every one of them have the same exact middle name. It's God.
Yeah,
and
that's it.
That's the problem what we have here in especially in this case, and I can tell you for this county for sure, because I actually live in this county.
I love living there.
County, this is a national problem. It's happening in every county. I mean, in 2015, juvenile courts here, St. Louis County, was investigated by the FBI, and they said constitutional rights were being violated on the juveniles. So this is a big deal. I mean, what you're doing is a great thing, but if you could tie it in on a national level, make this bigger.
I am.
And you tie all these cases in, showing that this has been going on for 20-something years, and it's not changed. It's a national problem.
Yes.
That brings bigger attention. That can bring in what you really want.
Exactly. That is what I want. And I want my son home safe.
Yes.
His torture was
I'm just giving a suggestion and an ideal. If you want these bigger cases, I can get you these bigger cases. And they have to tie it in to show you this is not just one county problem. This is a bigger problem.
Right. And that's the issue here is that they did it way back then. Well, 20 years later, now they're just getting even more shady about it in how they do it. And
because they terminated my rights. They terminated my rights illegally. I mean, my court hearing was on June 20th, 2000. They terminated my rights to June 4th, 2000, 3 weeks before my hearing. Then a commissioner signed off on it. I didn't even get a proper hearing. I got no due process, and they terminated my rights. And then they illegally adopted my son out, and they didn't even put his name on the documentation.
Right.
I mean, this is the end result after I was charged with contempt.
Sure.
Right. And so now, okay, especially in this case, we've got the child. We're assuming that Amber has the child. And we're hoping the child is fine now and safe, but we don't know that for sure.
No, we don't.
So that's another issue, because if you've given the child to a mother who was cooking up meth before, unfortunately,
97% failure rate. 97% failure.
97% failure rate. Sorry about this.
So what I'm saying is we don't know if this child is safe. We don't know if he's okay. We don't know nothing. Now, when I got thrown in contempt and they took my son away from me, I went 11 months without any contact. I had no idea where my son was. They wouldn't tell me. I had to get through the contempt charge before they would even let me see my son. And that's what happened to me. That was back in 1998. I mean, my case lasted from 1997 to 2001. And I got found with no abuse to that child or any child in the family. I was not proven unfit for any reason. There was no mental illness or defect. There was no drug use. There was no nothing. And they still got away with terminating my parental rights because of a mayhap, and I was supposed to pay maintenance support.
My son was left on the family side while he had 10 to 12 DCFS cases unfounded by specialists, his pediatrician, other doctors. Then you have 10 to 12 police reports, him gunshots in the house.
Oh God.
Rope
Now you got me
burns on his
worried about your
ankles.
kid.
Yeah, I'm
And the
pretty
biggest
worried.
question is, who's doing a child welfare check? Because
And I'm begging
begging
them to do
Right.
something.
Well,
Begging.
And
let's.
that's the thing too. That's another thing to bring up too. That I mean, it's not just our judges that are failing us; it's the entire system, right? I mean,
Yes.
DCFS. Obviously, they don't have enough resources, don't have enough funding. I mean, in Mike's case specifically, there's about 10 to 12 reports, and several of them, like you said, pediatrician, the PRC. I mean, there was one report where I believe there's an email where Mike reaches out to the maternal grandfather and said, "Look, I think Amber's still using. My son is dirty. The other child hasn't been to school or has been tardy several times. I think that she's using drugs again." And the caseworker goes out again 1 week prior to the raid and says everything is fine. And then a week later, there's a U.S. Marshal raid and they find all of this stuff. I mean, and the only thing that she got was, reassigned to a different case and a slap on the hand. I don't think that's right. I think, they're not doing their job. And I know there's several cases that they had found where DCFS wasn't actively investigating like they had been noting in their charting. This isn't okay. You shouldn't be reassigning someone like that who has missed several opportunities to do something right in a case, and then it comes down to the children are in a meth lab and it's discovered, and then all of a sudden everyone wants to help out. That's not right. We need the right
my son
people
was
in the
left.
position.
He became more and more standoffish. He was staring at walls by the end when I'm begging the judge to do something, and the drug tests didn't matter. I had a drug test on because it said I did cocaine. So I said, well, let's do a hair follicle test. And hers came back with enormous amounts of,
Wow.
It was bad. And that just got ignored. Everything got ignored while my son got put back in the house. And finally I had to put him through surgery by 2.
Oh,
And,
dear.
but nobody wants to, I'm putting all this together, and it's going to be it. And it involves a lot more people there. So they better be ready.
Right.
Because I'm not
Oh my
playing.
God. All I'm knowing is this child, somebody needs to do a child welfare check, because if he's back with the mother, I would be really concerned at this point, because if this mother did all this before, who's to say she's not doing it now? And she hid it from the social workers before. Now I want to make something straight. If anybody tells you that social services don't have funding, they're lying, because they get $4 billion to foster these kids. They get $3 billion to adopt these kids out. And then they get $99 million to do kinship placement. That's Title E funding. They also get Title D for funding. For Title D, they get A, B, C, D, E, and F, and they get all this funding to do all these things. So they got lots of funding. They're just misusing it. So the funding needs to be placed where it needs to be, and placed and rerouted to a right position, because if they're saying they ain't got enough funding, that's not so. Now, I do believe they don't have enough social workers to cover their caseloads.
No,
but
not
funding,
at all.
they got funding. Every
I
state
believe
same amount federal funding.
I believe third parties like Babyfold are very good. They were spot on what really happened to Michael, and their integrated assessments and their permanency reports will reflect what happened. And they spent a lot of time studying us both, and made a decision. But a judge decided, saying, no, I'm going to make this long. You can have the children back in three months. Oh, not 12 now? Okay, 3 months. You just got off.
I have a question. Did the mother, for any reason, have any idea who the judge was, or any kind of relation, or being friends with them, or some kind of biasy? Was there any kind of biasy with this mother? Because I have no idea.
Did you see the email from her father between the state's attorney?
Oh, right. So Diane will come on and talk
There's
about
a lot
that
more
after
of that.
Rosemary, but
It's just a question, because you're saying how she just only got probation. Well, if she got probation and that's it for all these crimes, and the child got returned to the mother, now
so there's a question.
Somebody.
Yeah, so that's what we're actively looking into. Diane and I are both looking into that. There's a question, because I know she and I had conversed on several of the cases, because we were both looking into the same thing. And so for us, it did not add up. And I mean, in the community, it doesn't add up. They're like, how is it that everyone else received years of jail? Or, in one case, they had 4 years. in one case it was 10, another was 18. How is it that she only received probation? And so Diane was really great and did some great investigative reporting, and she was able to get several emails. Now, they were gone, and Jason Chambers had said he didn't recall any emails between them. He knows that, Mr. Buck had gone to the office several times. And it just so happened they recovered an email, and they did an IT search and they recovered them. And I mean, they were pretty explosive. I don't know if you'd seen it on BNL News, but
No.
I don't know if anything happened, but after reading all of those emails, I would speculate that perhaps something happened where they gave her, I don't know if they would call it a chance. They must have done something because I just, in the emails, you can see that the father is trying to praise her, and, she's actively involved in the community. She's actively involved in this domestic violence program. She's this shining star, and, everyone looks up to her. And I mean, and during this time frame, she's violating a no contact order with her ex that she had the meth lab with, and the first plea falls through.
Wow.
And they still did another plea.
Yep.
And they still allowed it, and they only gave her probation. And you see in an email that Diane recovered from May, where it's from the assistant state's attorney, and Mr. Buck is thanking him for what they did for her. Now, there's several lines that are redacted, and I do know that Diane reached out to the state's attorney and demanded the unredacted copies, and I believe she has also filed a report with the attorney general to get those. I would be very interested to see these unredacted copies and find out exactly what happened, because for right now, given what's gone on in Mike's case specifically, and where the state's attorney, whether they choose to acknowledge it or not, they had a hand in what happened to him. And now you see these emails from the previous state's attorney and what may or may have been some shady stuff. They're not looking good in McLean
There's
County.
a lot more. There's a lot more.
Right.
Wow. That's
I
not just
apologize,
like
guys, but,
case,
right.
because they have
I
emails
apologize, but I have to hop off.
and emails. So I was just curious if this mother had some kind of form of contact, or maybe her family, because it sounds like it's bias. And that's what it sounds like. It sounds like this case might need to change of venue and go to a different area where there's no bias so you get a fair trial. That's
Right.
what it sounds like.
My
So
main
sorry,
goal
I
is to
have
get
to
my
jump
son back
off.
to safety. That's my first goal. is to
Well,
get
first
back.
thing I'm concerned about is how do we call for a child welfare check?
Yes.
And that's like, I'm really wanting to pick up the phone right now, call whoever I need to call, and get police out there to check on this
Her
child.
attorney said, her attorney, Tristan Bullington, said he is fine. So that's what we have right now.
So I'm sorry, child welfare check needs to be done like now.
Like now, yeah. And it looks like we lost Lisa there.
Lisa had to go, actually, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And so on this, and let's just backtrack a little bit, because you said that you were, while you were staying in Bloomington, Illinois, you were sleeping with a baseball bat next to your bed. Now, did you have specific threats by, let's say the
from anyone,
your ex's father, or you know, whatever? Yeah.
I had threats by some of her paramours, some guys that she was dating. There'd be a couple different guys over time. I tried to make it work for PD and MC because the kids are what counts, but there was no working. I know it was one way and it's their way and that's it. And what it does is it hurts the children immensely.
Exactly. And so when we're talking about specific threats, now, did people show up to your house, or were they
fist fights, right? My house.
Oh God.
Yeah, I had off the cement by one of them. And then another person I made out all right. So
yeah. And so there was specific instances in which you had battery upon your person. And so, yes, these were definite physical threats. These were not, somebody behind a keyboard typing away and
no, this is physical, banging each other out. And
they come to your house.
I mean, they're all, the boyfriends had guns. So,
oh God. They had guns, baseball bats, you name it, those kind of things.
Yeah, you had six different types of ammunition in the last place she had. So,
holy, I'm in disbelief.
Why is my son there? I want my son back bad.
Yeah.
I'm worried about him.
Yeah.
I know, but I don't know how we can do all that overnight. But what I do know is a call to action.
Mhm.
We need to get a child welfare check done on this child to make sure this child is okay and find the whereabouts of this child. That is like my biggest concern right now is this child okay? Has anybody heard from him? No one's seen him. No one's heard from him. He's been taken from his dad, and we don't know
His
where
whole life. I'm his whole life. Like, I'm his daddy. I protected him. I'm his mom. And
you know, so if his mom is doing all this bad stuff, I'm scared for the kid.
she's off of probation in 2019, around the same time as her high school boyfriend that she ends up back with, and with the 97% failure rate of meth addicts. That concerns me
Yeah.
a lot. You know, I mean, they just
I'm not even the kid's
a good
parent. I'm concerned for the child. I am really worried about this kid. I really
Yeah.
want to get on the phone and call somebody and say, hey, can you get to do a child welfare check? But I don't know where to send them.
Right. And
Yeah,
I'm going to get that number out actually, because the call of action will begin starting tomorrow morning when they're open.
I mean, first things first, let's get a call to action for a child welfare check.
Yes.
I mean, at least somebody gets some answers that this kid is okay and safe. And that is my biggest concern right now. Is he okay? Is he safe? Is he alive? We don't know nothing. So that is my biggest concern right now. As right now, my heart is breaking hearing this story because I didn't do my research. I didn't get a chance to. So I really don't know much about your case, Mike. But listening to this is really concerning because this kid is out there and nobody knows where he's at.
Yeah, and her attorney told us that don't worry, he's fine, which it's her attorney, and I don't hold him to a moral.
Well, I want more proof than just attorney telling me.
Well, I do too.
Fine.
I do too, and I do too.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a mom of 5, and I'm a grandma, and I have grandkids, and I want to make sure my kids are all okay. And I have to check on my kids and make sure each and every one of them are okay. I don't care what you got to say. I want to know. I hear from them. And I want to know my babies are telling me I'm okay, Mom.
Right.
Well, that's what I need, that peace of mind. I can only imagine what you're going through. And that goes for anybody else that's dealing with these kind of cases, because there's a lot. And I'm telling you, you need to hook up with this guy, Dennis Lagares. He's in Missouri. It's a neighboring state to Illinois. Your cases are so alike. It's unreal. And trust me, I think you two would make good support for each other and really get the ball rolling, because his case is in federal court. And the mother did take off with his kids, and he hasn't seen his kids. Yeah. So it's bad.
Right.
So,
and I think that's where we're obviously going to be heading with this, probably, right, Mike, is we're going to be heading to a federal court on a civil rights lawsuit, correct?
Yes. And the federal rights, but also the FBI.
Right.
Well, don't hold your breath on the FBI. The FBI don't like to do nothing.
Yeah, and I was told that there were some investigating going on by the major authorities. They have kind of stopped for the time being, but we need to get right back on them as well. As soon as we do this welfare check, we need to start doing a call of action to get the FBI back into this, because
because if we ain't on them, they're not going to do it. And that's the biggest concern. But I'm more worried about the baby right now.
Yes.
I
really
am too.
I want my son home.
And see his okay, because I am really concerned. And
I was in jail, worried, shaking, crying at night. My cellmate told me he was going to cry. He just heard me talking to my son, trying to save him, and that's been the five past years of my life. It's my poor little boy is just never been listened to since his birth. The mental damage that they'll do on him is terrible. You know, it's in reports of what they tell them to say, these children. It's insane. It's terrible.
Well, we had to call the lawyer or whatever. We want a call to action to get a child welfare check. We want somebody to verify this child as well. And we don't want to hear it from nobody's mouth. We want to hear from the child itself. And if they can't provide that, then we keep hounding them until they can provide it. Because I need to know for peace of mind that this kid is okay.
Right. And we're going to get on that. In fact, we'll get on that tonight, and I'm going to release the number for the McLean County Sheriff, so we can do a welfare check on this child wherever the child is. They need to
locate, find, and make sure this child is okay, because this child was taken from a state from his father. It is unclear. This child could be devastated. We don't know.
He's devastated.
and he probably hasn't been told anything.
No, he'll be lied to. I hate to say it, allegedly lied to, I have to say.
Yeah.
But
So I want to know that this kid is physically, mentally, and emotionally okay. Because how old is he?
he's only 4.5.
Exactly. So that's a baby. That makes it
Yeah.
even worse.
Mm.
So yeah, a call to action for a child welfare check for a 4.5-year-old, I think is very much needed right now. Because that
Like I'm
4.5
back in the beginning
don't have a
again.
voice.
I'm back trying to save him again. This is insane.
Yeah.
I saved him.
Yeah.
He was safe.
Yeah.
Finally.
And
He's 4.5 years old. Do you know what happened in these kind of cases? Parents that use drugs like this and they go back and forth.
Yeah.
90% of the time when the parent, whether it be male or mom or dad, if the kid winds back in the wrong hands, the parents wind up on drugs. There was a case that was just put out that this mother or father, we don't know who the suspect is yet, stabbed their baby and then put their baby in the oven and cooked them. So yeah, I don't want this to happen to a 4.5-year-old, because if we can stop it, we need a child welfare check. I'm sorry, but we do. I mean, there's some crazy people out there, and these drugs make them all whacked out in the head where they do stupid things. So yeah, I'm really concerned for this baby, and he's a baby. I'm sorry, he's 4.5 years old.
He's my
That's
baby.
a
Yep.
baby.
He's my baby. Yep.
Yeah.
That's a baby to me. He's not 8 years old. He doesn't have the common sense right now to know the difference between right and wrong. He doesn't really get it yet. He's just now starting to find out who has independence. So yeah, this is bad.
Right.
So I'm telling people, if you're listening, I need you on board. I need you to help me make these phone calls. I need those phone calls made to make sure this child is out there, that he is safe, and then somebody is stabbing him and putting him in the oven.
He's already abused. He's
crazy
crying for daddy.
That is a crazy drug.
I've watched it. I lived in the house with it. It was terrible seeing them come to the house. They used to have to pull cigarettes out of people's mouths and.
Oh Jesus.
So the baby, it needs to be very clear. I don't know much about this case, and I'm not trying to take sides or anything else like that. I'm strictly unbiased, but I'm not unbiased when it comes to a child.
Yes.
Right.
4.5 years old. That child needs a voice. And I'm sorry, I'm a family advocate, and kids come first. Sorry, Mike.
Well, good.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to take your side on this, but I do want to make sure this child is safe.
Yeah.
And I'm going to stress that more importantly to the public, more importantly to the people that are listening, we need your help. We need a child welfare check done on this child that was removed from Massachusetts, brought back to Illinois, to McLean County, and we do not know where this child is. And if he was placed back with the mother, is the mother off drugs? Is she keeping this child safe? And is she doing what she's supposed to be doing? Because if she's not, that child is unsafe. We need to get that child removed from there and at least put somewhere safe. At least until daddy can get him back.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Well, just make sure he's safe. That's all that I care about. That's the only thing I care about is my son and his safety. That's all
I'm sorry, I'm stressing this because he's 4.5 years old. And I'm sorry, Mike got off track about your case and all that. But will you tell me all this? I am more concerned about your son's safety and more worried about his well-being right now.
That's all I'm worried about. That's all I'm worried about.
I am ready to seriously cry over this, because other the stories I've been reading and reading the news and everything else, and these people on these crazy.
And then they put him back in that. They put him back in that.
They sitting there doing this meth and doing all this different stuff, Molly's and Zanka and all this other stuff that they're doing. Flanka is what it's called. They're cooking their children. They're killing their kids. There's people out there stabbing their babies in the face 90 times because the baby bit her nipple while she's breastfeeding, and she stabbed her baby.
That's what I'm afraid of. That's what I'm afraid of. That's what I dream of.
I am scared right now, because if they're on drugs, telling what these people will do. I've seen people eat people's faces off being on this drug. No.
I would love them to all have to take a drug test, a hair follicle test immediately. That's what I would like to see.
And right now, I am ready to cry. I really am. I'm just ready to cry, because I don't know. I'm sorry.
He's so scared being taken away from his daddy because of this, and then to not care about his feelings and to rip him away like he was the most.
I understand all that, but right now I am thinking about the drug use.
Yeah, I know.
The drug houses, the ammunition, the guns, the mess.
It's a lot worse than that. It's only 10% of what really happened. I got to put
10% is enough to make me almost cry. It's bad.
Yeah, living in hell.
So I'm telling you, this is like, Oh my God, for this poor baby. He's 4.5 years old.
He's a beautiful
Helpless.
little boy that doesn't deserve this. He
You
doesn't
know,
deserve
whether you're right, whether she's right, I don't care. The fact of it is to me, this is something serious. And I don't want to take anybody's side, but there's reports on it. This mother was proven to be unfit, and they give back the child to the mother.
3 months.
I'm sorry. I would want a constant supervision. I would want to know my child is safe. And I wouldn't want my child alone with somebody that's done that. They could put my child in harm's way. Because if they put my child in harm's way once before, they can put my child in harm's way another time.
Right.
And that's scary, because what if she gets mad and she's on this drug and everything
That's
else?
the problem.
And she
Mhm.
loses her cool and she breaks the baby's neck or chokes the baby or shakes the baby and gives the baby shaking syndrome. Because even at
I've been
4.5
there.
years old, you can get that.
I've been there.
You
with my
know,
baby.
Yep. And so here's what we're going to do, as we're not even going to wait until tomorrow.
Okay.
This is that serious. We're not waiting until tomorrow. Right now, the number is 309-888-5034. Call the sheriff. Tell them, hey, look, this is what's going on in this case. I just want to make sure that this child is fine. That's all. Nothing major. We're not doing anything illegal or telling you to do anything illegal. We're telling you we just want to know the child is fine, and we don't need somebody's lawyer telling us that that child is fine. That doesn't cut it with us. There needs to be a child welfare check on this child to make sure the child is fine. That's what we're going to do. And so while you're listening to the show and you're on your computer or you're on your cell phone, go ahead and put it on the other thing and call. Get on the phone. We're doing a call to action as to right now, and until we know there was a child welfare check done for this child.
Because I am really scared and worried about this kid. I mean, not much things put me in distraught, but when I'll tell you another case, little Romeo got beaten by his mother, and his mother was on drugs or something. She was something. She beat him with a high chair and tried to kill him. He was only 2 years old. And that was in Colorado. We did a call to action, and we had videos showing this, and we got that baby saved and put back with his father, because that father wanted the child, put the baby with family that wanted the baby. The mother apparently didn't, because she wanted to kill him. I mean, when it comes to kids being hurt or being in danger, I'm sorry, I'm a little scared. I get a little overreactive.
My son would make it.
You know, I understand parents' cases, and I understand that you're all grieving and you guys are going through hard times. But right now, I'm sorry, you're telling me all this horrible things this mother's done, and that she was proven to be unfit, and then they put the baby back with them. And that just isn't cool with me. I'm sorry, stop your case. I don't care about anything else no more right now. The only thing I care about is this baby okay?
That's all I care about.
Right.
I mean, I'm sorry.
Mentally, he won't be okay. Mentally, he won't be okay.
Right.
I mean, is he safe? Is he alive? Is he okay? Is he eating okay? Is he being with clean clothes? Is he being bathed? Is he getting plenty of nourishment? I mean, I got tons of questions to ask, because is this baby being hit? Is he being exposed to drugs again? Is he being exposed to ammunition and guns and violence and domestic violence or anything else? You know, I am really seriously concerned right now.
What I'm seriously concerned about is even off drugs, it was very abusive. So
and so that only adds to the situation and compounds everything, because this is what I'm going to do here so that you guys can see that we're not messing around with this. We're really taking all of these issues into consideration here. And this right here, I'm going to show. And you can see meth manufacturing. This is a serious issue. Serious issue, and we need you guys to definitely go out there, give the McLean County Sheriff John Sandage a call and say, hey, look, I want a welfare check done on MC. If you don't know who that is, tell them that the mother is Amber Buck, and you just want to make sure that the child is fine. That's all. And this is coming from me. It's not coming from the father. He ain't asking for this welfare check.
No, I'm asking for it. I am
are.
desperately in need to know if this baby's okay, because if he's not, I'm sorry, I'm going to McLean County, which is only 3 hours away from me, and I'm going to hunt it down, and I'm going to make sure he's okay, because that's my job. I am a family advocate. I'm a minister, and trust me, they will get me where I want to go and let me in wherever I want to make sure a baby's okay.
Right, and I'll be right there, right alongside you. I'll tell you that. We'll go in there together and we'll get it done.
Much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because right now my only concern is he's safe.
Mm-hmm.
If the social workers ain't going to do their job, if police ain't going to do their job, if no one's going to do their job, I will do it for them. And I have every right to do it underneath my credentials as a minister, because I do social work. That's what ministers do. Mm-hmm. And I need to make sure this baby's okay.
Right. And we're going to do that. We're going to make sure. And okay, so now that we're doing this call of action, we're not going to stop that call of action, people, until we have the welfare check done. Okay, so if this goes on for however long, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4, until we have a welfare check, this call to action is not over with. Okay, so that's number one in that issue. Okay, so let's move on here a little bit, back into the case a little bit. Okay, so we've already experienced the fact that you were given direct criminal contempt on this particular issue. Okay, direct criminal. Were you in this woman's court in order for you to attain a charge of direct criminal contempt?
No.
Okay.
No. I was also sentenced to 6 months without a hearing.
6 months without an actual hearing. So basically, that's ex parte kind of ruling. So that's, again, we've got violations here. So what other things did you experience when you were in Judge Hill's courtroom? Because I know, and I have heard from several people that in these instances, there is a lot of bias in those particular courtrooms, and in this particular judge,
yes,
very specifically, there's a lot of bias going on. What other things did you experience while you were in that courtroom?
Chaos, off the wall, personality, up and down, yelling, a lot of yelling. People from outside the courtroom were looking, yelling, and my full physical and legal custody, sole physical and legal custody papers could not be located. They were misplaced. So the day of the hearing, so they couldn't. That's a good way to not make them available for the appellate court when we have to appeal, because the appellate. Right. So also everything that happened, and this is 2 months after that sealed case. So all of a sudden, the mother is made fit. Everything's great. I'm in trial, and I'm told to bring Michael back inside the courtroom in front of his perpetrator. So I said, I can't. You're asking me to do something that the psychologist is saying not to do. This is going to harm him.
Right. And so what we've got again is we've got this judge, and I can tell you specifically, not just Michael's case. Let's just say, for instance, I've court watched in this specific judge's courtroom before, and several cases where hard medical evidence was presented on different situations, and the medical information and advice was either thrown out of court or completely dismissed from court. Exactly. And the judge made her own ruling and determination based on whatever medical needs she felt was appropriate. Correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So what we have is a judge that's legislating from the bench.
Yep.
That's not what judges are supposed to do. Judges out there, you are supposed to read, interpret the law, and apply the law to the case. That's it. If, ands, buts, nothing. That's it. Is to apply the law to the case. Now, if you're legislating from the bench, maybe you should run for Senate. Run for Congress.
House of Representatives.
Yeah. But a judge's chair with a black robe is not the job for you. Just saying. So the other thing in this aspect, Michael, I've got it on good authority that this particular judge all of a sudden at the age of 40 some odd years old has decided that after December she's going to be retired. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
What would make a 40-year something old judge just retire? That's a big question that I don't even know that anybody can answer, but
I can.
all right.
The judge is only 40 years old. It's a young judge. The reason why they would retire is because there's bad blood underneath them. There's paper trails that can get them point the finger, so that they can retire off the bench before it's pointed out.
And they lose their retirement.
Immunity, their limited immunity would still apply as long as they retired beforehand.
Very
if
smart.
they don't retire before they get caught, then they can lose their immunity and they'll be stripped of it. But if they retire before they get stripped of it, then they kind of get to keep it.
Right. And so threefold now, what we've got is we've got number one, a call to action for Mikey. Excuse me, MC. I'm sorry, MC. We've got a call to action for the child here. We need to know exactly where the child is, that the child is okay. Call to action to the federal authorities to get back on this, because it's not just here, it's everywhere. And we need to make this case and several other cases in this county a point.
Right.
And to see all of these cases in these different counties, let's make it a point, because now we're going to put the fear of God in some of these judges to say, hey, you can't do that. And when you do, you're losing immunity and we're going to hold you accountable.
Well, see, if we can show that to the feds, that this isn't just a county problem, because if it's a county problem, it's a local jurisdiction problem, because it's a state problem, and feds don't like to investigate that.
Exactly.
But if we can show that this happens in every state and it's a national problem, that's why I brought up Dennis Laguerre's case. Similar things that are very similar. There's email ex partes, communications with the judges, with the mother, the judge, the lawyers, and leave Dennis out. They basically terminated his rights without even telling him. He didn't even have a way to do it. And the mother took off with the kid, that's the same thing, same kind of scenarios. So if you put these cases together and show where the foul play is, that this is happening in every courtroom. In this case that I'm talking about is in federal Supreme Court right now.
Right.
We're waiting on a ruling.
And
when we cases and then get them investigated along with it shows now that this becomes a federal jurisdiction problem, not just a county problem.
Yeah, it's already in the federal
county investigation, but they'll say it's a local matter and you're going to have to get their local police authorities involved to investigate it. The FBI.
Right. No.
So we need to make this bigger. That's why I brought up these cases. Make it bigger. These cases show it's been going on for 20 something years. Show one right after the other, after the other, after the other. This is happening. This is not allowed to happen. Make them investigate.
Right.
Hurt children's not allowed. It's not accepted in my eyes. I was brought up differently. This is terrible. And it's a shame that Michael from 3 months old was his words were completely ignored. And from 3 months old until now, he has still been ignored by honorable judges. Honorable judges.
What I'm asking for is for the people to tell me, I need cases, at least one from every state that is similar to Mike's case. I need them to come forward. I need them to come and contact me or Jay. The reason being is we're going to tie it all together to McLean County. And if we can tie it together that shows the same cause of action that's going on and show each state line that is happening in every court, now it becomes a federal jurisdiction problem.
Yeah, Michael's is going to be
all I need is 15 states is all I need. 15. I need at least a portion of the states to show this is a federal matter. That it's happening in different states at different times.
I have a lot of people contacting me. I'll compile a list.
Okay.
Yes, we need to have very similar things for different states. Compile the biggest cases, the ones that had the expert communication emails, the ones that have those documentation where foul play is being done. Bring them together, give them to the media, the mainstream media, and have them do a national article and put the pressure on the FBI to make them investigate the entire system, not just one county, but the entire system for foul play. For due process, because that's what we're aiming for, is there's a lack of due process in the system. So we can show that there's no due process and they're violating these rights criminally, If we do it early on and we get to catch the earlier cases, the cases that's happened 20-something years ago, we might not get charges for what they've done to us. But those younger cases, might be able to get justice to the younger cases, that even though it's tied in.
Right.
Well,
That
he
makes
was
sense?
he was kidnapped. I mean,
Exactly.
he'll have full physical in custody here, but he was taken.
Right.
Exactly. And it's happening. So if we can gather these cases nationwide in every state and bring them close together and tie them to your case that are similar, we can show they are similar, that they have the same, little little things in it. And we can show that they have ex parte communications. They're talking behind the scenes. They're biased. They always have been friends with one of the parties, whether it be mother or father. It doesn't matter. I don't care at this point.
Right.
It shows the similarities. If we can show the similarities that this is a much bigger problem, this one county problem. Because
Right.
we could do one county, and what's it going to really do? They're going to hush. They're going to put it under the rug. They're going to shut down the media. They're going to do everything they can to hide it. But if we
Right.
make it a national problem, your case, not
Can't
only will
stop
it get seen as a national, but they'll see it as a much bigger problem in the system other than just McLean County.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah. I agree
Yeah,
with
and that's the other issue here is I know Melissa McDonald out of the state of North Carolina has a very similar case as well. So we've got North Carolina, we've got Missouri.
You got two
and
cases
we've
in
got
Missouri.
Illinois. 2 cases in Missouri. So 2 cases. So now we've got a whole lot of stuff, and what we need is a specific strategy in this. And I'm going to say this: number one, the child's got to be first.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
So
it. It's so simple.
Right. So we're going to do that first. That call to action is going to be first until we know that child is fine. That call to action doesn't stop. Okay. And then we'll come back on another call to action and to get the federal authorities involved in this matter and stay involved in this and what's going on.
And don't forget, get the media involved in
get the
all
media.
those cases and tie them together, because that's what we need is the media to tie them together.
Yeah.
We need
Right.
the mainstream media to show, hey, this is happening, not in just this county, but this, and this, and why ain't you doing your job? This is becoming a really big problem here.
Yes.
Yeah, we've got a whole lot of issues that are going on in this case in particular, and you've gotten incarcerated now. I want to ask, because we're still on the interview process here just with you,
Sure.
and I want to say and ask you, when you were in jail, did they treat you right? Did they treat you fair in that?
Oh, yeah.
courtroom
They feed
or
you?
in that.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Because that would be a whole other ball of wax.
Did they give you cardboard bologna sandwiches, or did they actually give you a hot meal?
Wet bologna sandwiches, basically.
Ew. I had to ask.
Nothing-
As everybody tells me, they go to jail, they eat cardboard bologna sandwiches. And now you just told me you got a wet, soggy one.
It's like it's like a I don't know how you could say it. It's like phlegmy kind of sandwich.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, well, it's frozen and deep.
I'm sorry, I had to throw that in there because that's kind of funny, because it's the jail cell talk. And you go to jail, you get cardboard bologna sandwiches. I had to ask. I have never been to jail, so I had to ask.
Yeah,
Right.
it's you worry about your son and your child, and you can't do anything in there. So it eats you alive, because I've protected him since he was a baby.
Well, trust me, it eats all parents that love their children alive when they get wrongfully removed. And when kids get wrongfully removed and they get taken from good parents, that's our job. We're supposed to worry about them. So if you're not worrying about your kid, then there's something wrong with you. So
Right.
because you're worrying about your kid, that makes me feel a little better and more at ease, because you do care and you are worrying about your kid. But with you telling me all this stuff, I'm worried about your kid, and I am not his mother, So I am a mother, and I believe all kids are my kids. So now you got me wanting to know, is this kid safe? Because if he ate, I'll take him, and I'll hide him until you get him back. No problem.
Right. Exactly. Now, I want to dispel another rumor, because that was out there on this so-called turtle something or other.
Turtle Boy, yeah.
A what?
They're actually, he's a Turtle Boy. He's being sued by
Turtle Boy.
different people.
Who?
Yeah, it's up in Boston.
Right. So, well, I've never heard of it before either. and
No,
evidently,
okay then. So if I
as
ain't
soon as
heard
I-
of them,
as soon as I
They
put
are-
out this, some Turtle Boy groupies came out and said a bunch of stuff. And so one of the rumors that was about all out there is that somehow you and Lisa were having inappropriate relations, which would make no sense because you're in Illinois and you're in Massachusetts, and she lives in what, California?
Yes. And her husband might get in the way too, and my girl.
wow.
So an investigative journalist who does her job and brings out the story gets accused of having an inappropriate relationship because she does the right thing.
How many
Again,
times have we heard that one?
yeah.
Yeah, come on, Jay. How many times have we heard that one? I mean, apparently, I've been accused of that stuff too. I supposedly slept with my journalist that got my story out, remember?
Yep.
And
That's
it
the
did
same
happen.
exact thing. Mhm.
Never happened.
And all of this takes place because it's smoke and mirrors. That's how they play this game in the press is I'm going to use misdirection and sleight of hand like I'm a magician, and I'm going to play a game with you, and I'm going to pull the rabbit out of a hat, and I'm going to show you this. But in the meantime, I'm doing this behind the scenes with my other hand. That's what's going on right here.
It is. It's
direction.
It's terrible.
Yep. And so the real issue in this whole matter is that we're concerned with, and when you cut through everything and you find out exactly what's going on in here, you're finding that there's collusion between the attorney general and
Coercion.
the judge. Coercion. You've got that going on.
Ex parte communication.
Ex parte hearings. So, and
Ex parte communications, because if they're doing emails and talking
we know
amongst
that.
each other, that's ex parte communications. That's not supposed to happen. That's against the law.
Right. And in McLean County, I don't know about other counties, but I can tell you this for sure. McLean County, which is the only courtroom I've really ever been in. So I know for a fact, both attorneys come in, they sit down, they meet with their clients, and they go back to the back to talk to the judge about the case every single time. And what do you think they're doing? Do you think that they're having a powwow?
No,
you guys gonna have a barbecue next weekend? Yeah. They're already making the decision. When they come back in the courtroom, that's just the dog and pony show.
I wish you could see some of the transcripts so you can see.
Yeah.
They go back in the back of the judge's chamber. They don't talk about the case. They talk about, well, how was your wife? Or how was this? And how was that? They don't really talk about nothing.
In Boston, they don't allow that. It's always the recording's always running. In McLean County, you can shut it down, go in the chambers, and it's not recorded. Out here, that doesn't happen because of this.
Right. There's no chamber recordings.
No.
You have to request that the visual recording, audio and visual recording is recorded. They will not let you bring any recording device in. Doesn't matter if you're ADA approved or not. They could give a crap less.
Yeah,
so
that's in any courtroom, any family courtroom. They don't allow you to bring any recording device in. In St. Louis, it's the same way. No,
just in the regular recording for the courthouse was what I've never seen in my life. Was that I was told we're better off to hire a third party.
Yeah.
Why we have to hire a third party if we have the transcribers there?
Right, because the transcriptions will be messed up as soon as you get them. Because, well, there'll be things redacted out of there or just typed in. We've had that happen several times, even in several people that I've helped. And I'll just put it
that has happened in a lot of cases, a lot of places. It's not just a one county problem. That is that's a nationwide problem.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think they realize that I would document everything to the T and make it very easily to read.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of crooked people. There's some good people out there. I'll tell you that right now. There's some good clerks that won't do it.
She got temporary
custody over the
phone too.
What was that? I'm sorry.
The judge gave her temporary custody over the phone while she's on probation for the meth lab because Michael was in this state, so that she couldn't just take Michael. So the judge gave her temporary custody over the phone, just like that. I mean, so-
Temporary custody over a phone.
Yep. Yeah.
So
Where's the
you
court hearing?
couldn't.
Where was your right?
Nope.
Where did you get the right to defend yourself to protect your child?
I don't. I was basically forced not to come there out of protecting
That's due process violations.
Yeah, we
These
have
are what I'm pointing out. It's a due process problem. Where was your right to be there to defend your child? You
was
have full custody of this
put together
child.
on their end. They were systematically putting together a failure, like they've done since Michael was born.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. This is a due process major problem.
Allegedly, I should say. That's
right. You know, and when I'm looking at this and we're seeing, and I can only attest for this certain county because I've never been in other courtrooms. Well, I've been in other courtrooms for court watching, but that's a different story. But that I know of, and we can talk about these things, but they're happening nationwide, like Rosemary is saying. These things are happening, no due process, ex parte communications, ex parte rulings. We've got
Ex parte emails.
What about a judge, seeing a judge filing in front of her 11 times in 1 month?
That would be what they call vexatious litigation. So we've got that going on, obviously, too, in a lot of cases. Where one particular party will file about anything that they can possibly file.
In my case, they filed 20 documents right then and there trying to get me nailed with my daughter's case. They tried everything they could. They filed a whole bunch of stuff. I filed it all in one packet. I said, here's my evidence, exhibit A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all in one packet. And then I had the evidence. I had to give it all to them. Yeah, they expect me to follow the rules, but nobody else follows the rules.
Right.
Yep. Right.
Now, the other thing that I'm going to ask you, because of the time period, that some of these things took place, because I know that specific time period, and I know the county. I know that the county was switching over, and has now just currently switched over to elect.
It's frozen.
I guess it froze on him.
Yeah.
He'll be back.
Okay.
Well, what was the question he asked?
I couldn't hear him. It froze up on me.
Well, we have to figure out what kind of question. I only heard part of it.
I know. I didn't hear the rest.
Okay, Jay, where you at?
You laying on your floor?
No, I'm laying in my bed.
Oh, okay.
It's quieter. I have roommates, and they're out there watching TV. Wow, Jay left.
He's done with us.
He'll be back. He'll come back in. He froze up.
Somebody's eating next to me.
That's okay. But to go back into your case, I don't know much about it. Jay knows more about it. I didn't get a chance to review everything. So let me get this straight. You have one drug charge on you, right? For prescription drugs.
Yeah.
You were found innocent on, right?
Yeah, it's my medications.
So the question I have is, did you have any affiliation with the judge?
No. I knew there was something wrong when they kept putting Mikey back in the house, and I knew there was some type of tie to them. I knew off the bat right away. You there?
I guess everybody froze up.
Oh, wow. Hi, there you are. Okay.
Everybody's freezing up. Well, I'm just curious of what exactly, entailed with your case. You get locked up in jail. They lock you up where you can't protect your child. They remove your child. Let me see if I got that right. They send him back to his mom, who has been proven to be unfit.
Yeah.
And for meth and stuff like that, making meth in the house, which is very dangerous because if a meth goes wrong, it can blow up an entire block.
Yeah.
And so we got that. And now they charge you with criminal contempt.
Yes.
Well, what was the contempt charge for?
The contempt charge was in a civil matter because I wouldn't bring the child into her courtroom.
So they gave you criminal? That doesn't sound like criminal contempt. That sounds like a civil contempt.
It's a civil contempt. She changed it. She just didn't follow the process of the law. And we argued that, but it doesn't matter what you argue when you have a judge that doesn't.
Okay.
And I might lose my job now, I just found out. So I'm waiting to tomorrow. And she's kind of, she's destroyed my son, my mother, my family, family.
So
is God.
I was just curious because I'm understanding child was taken. They had to detain you to get that child, correct?
Yeah.
So, because the law says if you're not present, then they can take the child. But as long as you're present, they can't.
But she wasn't allowed to leave the state with that child because there was an appellate court decision that Michael would stay here. An emergency stay until the appeals court, because Judge Casey in Massachusetts became the chief justice. He's the head of all Mass attorneys' probate courts now, the one that had our case. And he made sure, he said it's a stay, an emergency stay. This child goes nowhere. He apologized to us and said, I'm giving you a 4-hour evidentiary hearing to get everything in. So,
okay. So what I'm figuring is, the biggest question is, you have reporters on this. You got bad publicity going on. You got good publicity going on. You get locked up in jail wrongfully. Your child is removed and extradited back to Illinois. Now,
ripped away
when
from his
they arrested you, did they try to extradite you too?
They weren't going to extradite me from along. This was a whole systematic play. Get me locked up, false warrant for an extraditable warrant, and then have me out of the way, put me in jail, take Michael, threaten to arrest my mother. She didn't turn over Michael. And basically Amber took him.
Wow.
Against the court order. Lied to the police on the phone, which we just got the records, the call logs. So those are going to the DA now. She said I was here. I took the child and the children. My son's not safe because I'm not right in the head. So she's lying still. She's never stopped. It's just.
Wow.
Talking to the boyfriend on jail saying she'll never get her kids back.
Yeah.
I'm just in amazement of how the system is just doing what it's doing.
They hid the second meth house that she had, the second meth lab. I got the report. I have all these reports. I have it all. It's.
So you have all this evidence on this mom.
She wouldn't let him take one toy. My mother just said that.
I'm gonna just let you know, Jay's internet shut down, and he will be back here shortly as soon as he gets it back up. So I'm just gonna keep rolling.
Okay.
So we are to keep rolling until Jay comes back. Okay.
Okay, great.
His internet shut down. So the biggest question I have is, what would you like to see done?
I just want my son back, and I want these people removed from that power. They're hurting children nonstop. And I know who they are. I have the proof.
So even if you get your son back and you win your case and everything is said and done, will you stay in doing this to continue with what you're doing?
My life now. I will not watch any parent go through this again.
So you're going to be on the mission like the rest of us. You know, I have my kids home and I'm on this mission because they did wrong. And it's just wrong. It needs to change. So I was just curious. I mean, you have the media. Your case is going mainstream. You would like FBI to investigate it, but it's going to be really hard to do just for a county because that is a state matter. It's under jurisdictions, and you understand that.
We have somebody already involved.
Hey, Jay's here. Are we back, Jay?
Yeah, I'm back now. It looks like they tried to shut me down, but they can't do it because it's already automatically set. It's already automatically set. So what ends up happening is the meeting keeps rolling in virtuality, and so when it shuts down my internet, pops me off, you guys can keep going, and I pop right back in whenever it comes back up. So they do this a lot when I'm trying to do certain things, and usually it's on a phone conversation, but now it's obviously on the show. So
Well, how do you make you back to? Oh, okay. It says you're the host again. Great.
Yeah. So some of these things happen, and obviously they don't like what we're saying, and that's fine. They can try and shut us down all they want to. It's just going to make you guys call in that much more. Right. So that's what I'm suggesting. Call in that much more. Shut it down.
Well, to fill you in, I asked him some questions. One was, what does he want to see overall done? And the other question was, is he going to continue this fight even after he wins this case?
Yes.
And he told me he's made this his life now because he doesn't want other parents to go through what he's going through. So he's going to be in the same boat we are. We're lifetimers.
My background, software development architecture, so I've already built a very, very vast.
So who's this Diane? Is she coming on or what?
Diane, yeah, in fact, it looks like I may have her on as of right now. Okay.
Yeah, because we've got like 20 minutes left, and I figure we bring her in.
Yes, absolutely. So Diane, are you there?
I'm here.
Awesome. Awesome.
There she is.
Yeah. So Diane writes for BLN News. And that you can find that on BLN News. Is it blnnews.com? I'm a little off.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So Diane, they've already tried to shut me down tonight on this show because we're going to do a call to action to find out where this child is and do a welfare check. I think that has to be done. Has to.
Yes, I agree.
The other thing that I want to ask you about is on BLN News. How did you get in touch with this story, and how did you start taking on some of this and getting involved with Lisa?
I was contacted by Michael
because
he was so upset with the pantograph reporting.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that is why I started BLN News, is because of the pantograph reporting. And that was back in 2012, so it's like right up my alley. But I didn't take his word for it. I read hundreds, if not thousands of pages of things before I was convinced that Michael was on the right side. And then along the line, Michael introduced me to Lisa, and Lisa and I have been working together pretty closely since.
Mm-hmm. So you opened up the BLN News site because of the biased reporting that's going on in the media locally, which we have that nationally as well. But when it comes down to parents and some of these issues that are going on within the family courts or DCF or I believe it's called CPS here in Illinois. It's called something different in every place. But the main issues that we come across is that the bias reporting that's going on in a lot of these issues. And when it comes down to domestic issues, they really don't like to get involved, correct?
Their reporting is biased across the board. It doesn't matter. But I was wondering, why is the pantograph even covering this case?
Right.
You know, they don't cover custody cases.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the big deal? Why are they doing this? And then it just got so much worse. You know, when I started reporting, then it really went to the other side, and the pantograph was getting fed information directly from the other side's lawyer, and that's all they were reporting.
That was scary.
Yeah, it was.
So what we've got is the newspaper, and understand people in Bloomington Normal, and it's a relatively big town. You've got Bloomington and Normal. You've got Illinois State University that's in this town, so it's a relatively decent sized town. But you've got the newspaper literally 2 blocks away from the courthouse, and a lot of the lawyers and judges are major contributors to the newspaper. So of course you're going to have some bias going on here. But when it comes down to it, you shouldn't have so much bias on the other side without reporting. Journalistically, you have to report both sides of the story and understand that there were meth charges, there were cooking up meth charges. They were distribution. Is that right? Were there distribution charges on that, Diane?
There wasn't child endangerment charges.
Child endangerment, yeah.
See, now you guys are talking. Oh my God! Now it's making me even more worried about this 4.5-year-old.
Yes.
Well, somebody already did the child welfare check already.
Yes, yes. And so in your perspective, have you you've probably done this journalism thing you said since 2012. Have you seen anything this shady going on before?
Yeah, but this is just standard procedure for the pantograph.
Yeah. So yeah, and so we're seeing a whole lot of shady things that are going on with this specific court. Now, in your perspective, can you relate this to other courts from different states and the shadiness that maybe this is an overall system thing that needs to be checked into rather than just specifically McLean County Court?
No, I haven't really studied the other courts, but I can tell you that I have sued the city of Bloomington in McLean County Court, and I have seen firsthand how I was treated in court.
Right.
And the judge that I had was really, really nice to me because she was worried about her boyfriend not being retained and me writing about them. And as soon as the election was over and he was retained, she turned on me instantly. That case was over. So it's systematic in the McLean County courts, whether it is anywhere else or not. You're lucky to find a prosecutor, is what I've always found.
Right, right.
If you ever make it to the courts, it's a miracle.
Right. And even though this is a big sized town, what you have is everybody kind of is in that good old boys network. And this happens all over. This isn't just McLean County. What you have is
St. Louis County.
St. Louis County. You've got all of these different counties, and it's a good old boys network there.
It's happened in southern Missouri. It's happening all over Missouri. It's a good old boy system. And the problem is we don't got enough reporters that will even report the stories. They bow away from it. We don't have nobody that will take the cases, big cases that are in federal Supreme Court right now as we speak. We're waiting for rulings to be done because of email ex parte communications, wrongful done in courtrooms, and we can't get any media to cover these cases. And the problem is we get one big case that you see, and then we can combine it with all these cases all over across the nation and show this is a more national problem than just a county problem.
Right, right. And I know from this perspective when we're talking about things, and I know that there's a hyper focus, or we want to kind of focus here, but we got to be focused on out here because obviously this is not just happening in McLean County. We've got it in Macoupin County. We've got it in Peoria County. We've got it in Cook County, what we call Crook County in Illinois. We've got it all over the place in every single instance here where we've got ex parte rulings, we've got ex parte communication taking place, we've got collusion, we've got all kinds of coercion. We've got all kinds of things that are going on in these courts when all we need is judges who are looking at the case and they're applying the law to the case. That's it. That's it. That's all you got to do. That's your job. It's pretty simple. Pretty simple. But in this instance, Diane, what made you choose, and I think you kind of went over this a little bit, but what made you choose specifically to cover this case? Not just because Michael got into to call you and look into this, but I mean, something must have clicked in you that said, hey, look, he's absolutely right. Well, I need to cover this story. What was that for you?
I've got a brother that got divorced. It's probably been 40 years ago. And his ex immediately got remarried and filed with the court to take the kids to Colorado. And the judge said, oh, sure, you can go to Colorado, even though my brother was standing there saying, I'm never going to see my kids if she moves to Colorado. And the judge said, oh. And then they moved to Tennessee. And the kids were taught to hate him and blame him for everything.
Right.
And both of those kids are now on welfare because he had no attempt. I mean, he was not able to see them or have an influence in their life. And I'm thinking Michael has to stay with his son.
Right.
And Michael has always said that he wants Amber in Mikey's life.
Right.
You know, that's what was important to me. You know, where in my brother's case, his ex-wife didn't want those kids anywhere near him, and she told him crap. You know, and he was
Going in and out.
Yeah, you're kind of going in and out, and I think it's probably because you're driving. But what you're basically stating, yeah, what you're basically stating is that you took to heart a personal case. Now I want to relate this back to this community in this way. People out there who are not affected by this in one particular case or this particular case or this particular case, they don't want to get personally involved. And here's why: because it doesn't affect them. You have to relate to them that everything out there affects them in one way or another, whether it's Title 4D funding, whether it's Title 4E funding, whether it could be your cousin that's going through a divorce and they lose out on their kid and their kid is taken just like Michael's was. You've got to relate and make this personal and how they can attach to this community. How can they reach out in this community and be invested in this community? You holding up a sign sometimes does not do that for them. It's just not going to cut through. Some of the angry signs sometimes that I see, and there's a place and a time for that. There really is. But they need out there to be able to relate with you. That's how we change hearts and minds. It's not by picking up a weapon. And I hear that so frequently. Well, I'm going to defend my family and I'm going to pick up a weapon. Don't do it. Because once you point that gun at an officer, there is no turning back. I can't. Once you pull a trigger, I cannot help you. I will never be able to help you. You need
There's
a
no squeaky defense.
Yes.
On that. I mean, it's wrong. I mean, yeah, what they're doing is wrong to you, but two wrongs don't make a right.
Right.
Never have.
Right.
Leave the gun violence alone. Yeah,
Exactly.
you want to protect your family, but there's a better way of doing it. Use your words.
Mm-hmm.
Use the law like you're supposed to.
Right.
But don't ever point a gun at a cop or a social worker, because that's all it's going to do is get your rights terminated, get you killed, put you in prison. And who's going to fight for your kid then?
Right. That's exactly
Be
right.
smart.
Mm-hmm. And we had to get that point across because there were some issues that had kind of come out, and some people were talking about, gun rights and Second Amendment rights, and I get that. I do, but do what Michael is doing now. Yes, he had to go to jail. Yes, he's done all of these things, and he's gone through hell and back again. But he's going to be doing a civil rights lawsuit. He's going to be demanding his justice that way. He's going to have us get on this call to action, and we're going to find MC, and we're using the initials, Diane, MC, and we're going to make sure that he is fine and that he is okay, and then we don't have to worry about that. And then we can move on to further call to actions. And my question to you, my last question here, because we're kind of running out of time, is do you, or what do you think that can be actually done to change the system so that we have due process in these courts for cases such as Michael's?
The first thing that has to happen is anytime a judge is on a ballot for retention, the answer is no. These judges have to be turned over frequently. They're just like politicians. When they're up for retention, kick them out, get new ones. So that they're not on the court for 10, 15, 20 years and they end up doing whatever they feel like doing.
Yeah.
That's because they get too cocky and they feel like they don't have no remorse. They don't have no repercussions. They think they're just God. They got the God complex. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So that's the first thing you're saying as a suggestion is ballot retention, vote no.
Yep.
Yep. I absolutely agree.
Every single one, even if you think they're a great judge, they can go on back to being a lawyer. I'm sure there's more great judges out there.
Yep. Yeah. And I will agree, and that seems to be the issue, and it's the issue in our legislature, and when you've got somebody who's been been on the House of Representatives for 20, 30 years, and they don't get anything done. Well, it's because you kept them in office. Same thing happens here in family court. Well, you looked at Rosemary's case, over 20 years old, and this. Yeah, 22 years, and this is still going on today. And you know why? Ballot retention. Yep. So I absolutely agree. I want to thank you guys so much, and Michael, for sure, I'm going to be in contact with you, brother.
Hopefully,
and, yeah, and I will for
great
without
show,
a doubt.
Jay. Great
show,
show,
brother.
Great, Rosemary.
Yep. And I do want to say this too, while you're on here. Thank you so much to those out there who did do a call of action and got this out there to get Michael free. We absolutely appreciate it. And we can't say enough about your hard work and efforts out there. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming on. We greatly appreciate it, and we'll get back in contact with you soon.
Okay. God bless you.
All right.
Thanks.
All righty. All righty here. So I'm going to hit there. Okay.
Yeah, 7 minutes.
All right, so great show this evening, guys. We really appreciate you guys tuning in, and again, just it's a crazy case, but at least we've got Michael out. Again, call to action, guys. Get out there to the sheriff's department in McLean County. We want to do a welfare check on this child to make sure that the child's okay. Then we'll do further call to actions as we
Yeah, because like Jay said, the most important thing right now is making sure that child is okay. I mean, that's my biggest concern right now. Yeah, the case is interesting to hear, and there's a lot of fine ins and twos, and I can't take sides on it. But when I hear all this crazy stuff that's going on in this case, we need to make sure this 4.5-year-old has a voice. This 4.5-year-old, someone is looking after. His dad can't, he's in Massachusetts. They took him and put him in Illinois. So somebody's got to be this little baby's voice. So we need you to help make this call. And I am begging, please, because I need to have peace of mind that this 4.5-year-old has a voice. This 4.5-year-old, knows that someone cares, that his dad does care, and there's people out there looking out for him to make sure he is okay, that he's being fed, that he's being taken care of, that he's not being hurt, that he's not being exposed to drugs, that he's safe,
right,
completely safe. Mm-hmm. So that call to action to me is the most important one right now.
Right.
Everything else can wait. I mean, I'm sorry, Jay.
Yeah,
you gotta love your kids and all that, but I have to think of the well-being of the baby. He's 4.5 years old.
Yep.
He needs somebody to be a voice for him.
Yep. I absolutely agree, because if we don't have this, what, Rosemary, we may be doing the Talking Normal podcast from the sheriff's office in McLean County next week, huh?
They better find this child and somebody contact me, let me know this baby's okay.
Yeah.
Or I will take that drive. I will go 3 hours to Bloomington and go look for this child, because I will go door to door if I have to. I did for my daughter to find my daughter. We went door to door for hours and we found my daughter, and we're in St. Louis. You know how big St. Louis is?
Yeah.
So yeah, and I had 30 people out there looking for my daughter combing the area. So yeah, if I can do it in 9 hours finding my daughter when she was kidnapped, I will find this child. I will go door to door. All I need is a picture of this kid, and that's all I need. And I will find this baby, and I will go door to door looking for him. I don't care about what people's things are. I will go door to door. So it's not a problem.
Yep, absolutely, 100%. I also want to say right before we leave, we do this broadcast for you guys each and every week. We bring you this, and we work hard behind the scenes, and our team does as well. We do not take a salary. We do not take a salary. And how we do this show is we have a PayPal out there that allows us to link directly to the Zoom. So whatever you contribute out there goes directly to the Zoom, doesn't go to my pocket, Rosemary's pocket, anybody's pocket. So if you can contribute, please do. That helps keep us on the air and keep us bringing stories like this. And hopefully even more exciting ones where we reunite Michael and MC. Hopefully in the future.
Yeah, use kids' initials on air when we do media or whatever. Always, and that's a word of advice even to the journalists. Use the children's initials, even when you write your court document. Use the kids' initials.
Exactly.
Don't put it on public documents.
Exactly. And definitely want to say a big shout out to our team. I know they're working hard behind the scenes, and they're going to be working even harder because I'm going to be giving them more and more and more. So be ready for that team. Team TNT, if you would like to be part of Team TNT, contact us. We'd really like to get you on this team. We work hard behind the scenes, bringing the stories. We're doing the research and everything else that we're doing behind the scenes, asking even celebrities to join our show sometimes. So we work on that very, very hard. So we will be back here again next week. So make sure to tune in then. And until then, keep living, keep fighting, and keep talking normal. God bless, guys.
Bless you all.
Hammer down, nailed to the wire, known by the sin of our fathers. Let it all come out and burn like a fire. We'll shout a little bit louder, 'cause the night still has 1,000 eyes. And when the truth is brought to light, you and I will be through every door, and the stakes get higher. Hard evidence is power. Turn loose a war, trade proof for the liar. We'll shout a little bit louder, 'cause secrets tell a million lies, but the truth is always brought to light. So you and I will be tell a million lies to build the walls they hide behind, but the truth is always brought to light, brought to light. Secrets tell a million lies, but the night still has